to the Suck My DFS podcast presented by the Game House. I'm your host, Braxton and Will from the Game House, here with the coach, Will Shearholtz. What's going on, Will?
Not much, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. You know, we have a Thursday night game to look forward to that isn't complete ass. Or at least it shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be, but I have no trust that the Thursday night games will actually be played well. Although I am excited about this one with Minnesota and the Rams. I think it's a really, really good matchup. Hopefully it's not a dud because my expectations are pretty high.
It is. And, you know, unlike a lot of Thursday night games, you know, the most recent, I don't include the opener because it's sort of a special occasion, but the last two Thursday night games have not been extremely fantasy relevant, I've had to say. You know, Bengals-Ravens is not a bad one, but Browns-Jets, you know, if you're watching a player in that game in your starting lineup, you're probably in the minority. But tonight, I mean, there are first-round picks, first overall picks in this game. So I'm very excited about its prospects as well. But first, we want to reflect on last week a little bit. Aside from the big upsets and the favorites not coming through, I thought it was a pretty straightforward slate. I didn't like it because of all the late value at running back that opens up. I hate when I feel good about my lineups on Thursday, and then news come out Thursday afternoon, Friday that, you know, that Murray's getting the start, Corey Clement's getting the start, Wilkins is getting the start. All of these value running backs are going to be elevated to starting roles or majority shareholders, and I'm making this my policy from now on. I don't like to corner myself, but you know, just from a game theory perspective, I want to see if this makes sense to you. Well, in a cash game, if a value running back opens up, you have to play him. Now your initial thoughts to that statement?
Yes.
And when we mean by cash games, we're talking primarily, you know, 50-50s, head-to-heads, you know, not these giant donkey contests where there's 100,000 people in it and you're trying to win. That's when you want to fade the chalk. But my perspective is, you know, people always say, well, I faded Let Murray. Well, that's great. But in my opinion, that's not the right play. I was looking at my cash lineups. The lowest amount of ownership percentage he had in one of my 50-50s was 82. 82 lineups out of 100 had Lat Murray. So what that means is you take the free space, because what happens is, let's say Latavius Murray goes off. Well, fantastic. I've got a $5,200 guy that goes 3x at 15 or 16 points. And I've got him, and I'm keeping pace with the rest of the league. If he goes off and you don't have him, 82% of the field now has a substantial advantage on you because of his value. And don't think, well, I'll make it up with this guy and this guy. No, they've got that guy and the other guy and somehow fit in this guy because of Latavius Murray or because of Corey Clement or Gio Bernard. So I'm of the opinion if there is a substantial chalk running back, I'm going to eat that. Now, the chalk wide receiver, you know, I faded it week one with Keelan Cole, the minimum price number one. I was high on him. You did some more research, heard some other opinions. I'm like, no, this is a risky one. So as much as I love Calvin Ridley, he was only on one of my two cash lineups because he could have very easily busted at 5,000.
Yeah.
Just like Tyler Boyd, those guys were in great spots, and thankfully they came through. But that's not something I'm doing every week. I'm not penciling in a chalk value wide receiver at 3, but I will pencil in the chalk running back.
You really hammered it home with the running back. It's just simple math at that point. If somebody's going to be highly owned in that kind of game, you really need to have them for what you touched on. Absolutely.
And I think there are certain receivers that are going to be really popular that are below 6,500 this week. They're going to be really popular, but they're almost never going to be at the same level as a running back because of the volatility of the position. We'll get into this, I'm sure. One guy I'm seeing going to be super popular in the mid-tier range is Sterling Shepard. Sterling Shepard at 6,200 has a fantastic matchup, and he's very reasonable for the matchup in the projected game flow. So I think Sterling Shepard is a guy you, regardless of how you feel about the Giants or Eli Manning, put him in your lineup because he'll be 40% owned in your cash games. Now, you can overcome a 40% chalk hit more than you can an 82% chalk it at running back. But if we're just talking from a game theory perspective and giving yourself the best chance to win in cash games, I would play Sterling Shepard everywhere this week. Now, if I'm trying to win the Million Maker or I'm trying to win out of 10,000 people, no, I can find different options for Sterling Shepard. But if I'm playing my high volume 50-50s, I will start with my quarterback, my running back, and Sterling Shepard and pretty much fill in the rest.
I like it. I like where your head's at.
I appreciate it, but I do find myself in my initial lineup builds getting a little cute. And I'm glad I caught myself because, well, I had lineups where I like game stacking. I like quarterback, wide receiver stacking, running it back with either the opponent's number 2 or running back or something. But I found myself stacking quarterback, wide receiver, opposition, running back, wide receiver, and then that's too much for a cash game. Just make a second lineup and split up that risk. So I did catch myself getting a little too cute with some of these game stacks. I'm not trying to win $1 million. I was trying to win, a couple hundred, maybe 1,000 a weekend. Maybe on a good day.
You wouldn't like to win $1 million?
Of course I would. I don't want to spend the $10,000 it takes over a season to even be in a position to sweat it on Sunday afternoon. Because the people who do that, that's their style of play, so they've allocated their budget. They know that, hey, I'm going to make my profit in DFS 4 out of 16 weeks. I'm going to hit a huge 4 out of 16 weeks, and I have the bankroll and the stomach to live with the utter failures that come with it. Now, if you play that way, more power to you. I can't play that way. I hope to play that way. That sounds really fun. But no, I'm not willing to risk the thousands it would take to even be in the position to win $1 million. But of course I'd love to win $1 million. Are you out of your mind? Of course I would. I'd love to put on this podcast winner of the DraftKings or FanDuel. Really, it's the FanDuel Sunday Million. I play DraftKings lineups for fun. I always play $10, $15 in DraftKings just because I like having the challenge of building lineups there, and it's just fun because those are the times where I'm taking my shots and building crazy lineups. Like I had a Matt Ryan Ridley stack in all 3 of my DK lineups, and I actually cashed. So I paid for the next 2 weeks' entries, but that's it. That's it. I'm just playing for fun over on DK, not for cash. Before we move into our game-by-game examination of the Sunday main slate, we got our top 5s, and Thursday top 5s are always a little bit more fun than our Tuesday takeaways. Will, tell them what our top 5 is.
This week, it's our top 5 least favorite kinds of people at the gym. And there's so many different types of people you see at the gym.
Yeah, you said putting 5 on the list was easy. Limiting it to 5 was the hard part.
It took me about 30 seconds to come up with my 5. 30 seconds.
But I've got these guys that could be like, you're like, no, I like the 5 they came up with. Tell us what your number 5 is, Will.
So I'm not gonna lie to you. I've done it, okay, but I can't stand people who lift in sweatpants.
Any particular reason?
It bothers me. You're not supposed to lift in pants. Like if you got leggings on underneath shorts, or if you're just wearing shorts.
You're doing the podcast right now, like you came straight from work.
I came straight from work, but you're not supposed to do athletic movements in sweatpants. You're just not supposed to. I don't know.
Extra drag, extra.
It just bothers me.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things.
What do you do if you see a player on your team lifting in sweatpants?
I tell him to put shorts on, like a normal human.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't really do that. I've tried the leggings before, and they're fine. But I'm a shorts guy.
Yeah, it's just I don't know, and there's nothing really wrong with it. It just bothers me.
That's okay. People can be bothered for all sorts of reasons. I'm bothered by this next one on my number 5. Guy who's doing hang cleans, and he's not a college athlete, not a high school athlete, not training for a powerlifting contest, not doing CrossFit, just a guy who's getting his sweat on the gym doing hang cleans. And my big question is, Will, why? Why are you doing that exercise? Even as an athlete in college, I found every excuse I could never to do hang clean.
Since I've retired from sports,
yes,
I've never
from
done
playing sports.
From playing sports, I've never done a hang clean, and I haven't back squatted since I've retired.
I still squat. I don't do a lot of weight, but I like getting the stretch in. Never hang clean. The last time I hang clean was probably freshman year, and you're like, well, you guys have a weightlifting program. I'm like, yes. I would just skip the hang cleans. What about test day? I always had some sort of nagging injury come test day for hang clean day. Hey,
shoulders a little banged up.
You do bench press? Yeah. You do bench press? You do squat? I'm okay with squat. Never hang clean. Cannot do it.
Suck.
Cannot do it. I know they're great for being explosive and power and flexibility. No, thank you.
I don't need any of that anymore.
No, I don't need any of that. I mean, the toughest sport I play is golf. I don't need any of that. It almost hurts you. You can't be super jacked playing golf. It just doesn't work in that sport. Unless you're Brooks Koepka.
Brooks Koepka is jacked.
He's massive.
Love that guy.
He's thick, but you don't want to hear about Brooks Koepka. You don't. You want us to move into the next segment, so we're going to do that. Will, start us off with your first game of the Sunday slate.
So I've got Miami at New England. New England's a 7-point favorite at home. Over/under set at 48 points. Okay, am I going to bet against Tom Brady and Bill Belichick? And the answer is no. I'm going to take New England. I know Miami's been hot. And I actually like some Miami players in this game because I don't think New England's D can stop, but I just can't bring myself to bet against them. I think New England, I think 7 points. I don't actually think that's too many points at home.
What number is it for you to take Miami?
7. If it was 7.5, I would
think
have
about
considered it.
Yeah.
But at 7,
there's no
I'll roll with New England. So anything over 7, and I'll go over. I think some points are going to be scored.
Cool. That'll be great for Kenyon Drake owners who are sitting with their hands in the air, like, what am I supposed to be doing right now?
Struggling.
Yeah. Oh yes. I don't have a good read on that game, but we've been wrong on New England the last 2 weeks. But that has to they can't lose 3 in a row. They cannot lose 3 in a row. And I know people are like, well, they struggle against Miami. They struggle in Miami.
Yeah,
in Miami. So it's a little bit different situation. I agree with you. I'll actually take the under, though, because I don't think the Patriots can score that.
Sure.
I don't think they're going to have enough firepower.
Their offense is a mess right now.
Hasn't that looked good?
I get it.
Moving on to, wow. This game doesn't look great, but it could be great for fantasy. Houston at Indy, baby. Indy, only a 1.5-point home favorite. Earlier in the day when I emailed you the show script, it was -1. It's now moved up to -1.5. Over under 47.
I know who you're taking.
I don't think you do. Actually, give me Houston to cover.
Oh my!
Houston to cover, and give me the over.
Yes,
Houston to cover. Give me the over. Finally, Luck's going to get an advantageous matchup. He's not going to play against a ferocious front seven or pretty skilled secondary. I like how this sets up on both sides. I don't think I'll have a lot of ownership, though. T.Y. Hilton burnt me last week, not because the volume wasn't there, but, man, it was tough to try to give him the ball in the red zone. The Eagles really honed in on him. I imagine Houston does the same. I will take that back. I like one player in this game a lot. He did not make my game-by-game breakdown, but that's Will Fuller. Fuller is a touchdown machine. I had him in my tournament lineup last week. He came through. Michael Thomas came through. T.Y. Hilton's the one who didn't come through there. I love Will Fuller over DeAndre Hopkins all day long and daily.
I like that a lot. I'm a big Will Fuller guy.
Actually?
Yeah, I like him.
Okay. I never really knew that about you because it's not like you're big on the Notre Dame connection.
No, I hate Notre Dame. But, maybe it's just like I like Juju. He's a 2. I like Will Fuller. He's a 2.
Yeah,
I like those guys.
And Will Fuller is just Deshaun Watson's boy. All he does is score touchdowns. I don't think every game, but in as many games he's played with Deshaun Watson, he's got touchdowns. So an undeniable connection between those two, especially with Hopkins taking all the attention on defense. Will, what's your next game?
Cincinnati at Atlanta. This one excites me. Atlanta is 5.5-point favorite at home. Over under set at 52 points. Cincinnati's played some high-scoring games already this year.
Yep.
And their offense has been good. I'll take Atlanta to cover 5.5 points. I think they'll be okay. And
I think the spread last week, Cincy, I think it was Cincy at Carolina. Carolina was 5.5, 4.5, and Carolina took care of business. Yeah. So I think Atlanta's just as good. And I think they play a different style of a football, but I think they can cover as well.
Absolutely. And over.
I love this game. I love the Cincinnati side of this game especially. Yes, I concur, as they say in the medical world, according to Catch Me If You Can. Very, very odd reference. If you're a Leonardo DiCaprio fan, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Moving on to I don't have a good grasp on this game. Buffalo at Green Bay. Oh. Green Bay -10 over under 45. I don't even know. I mean, Rodgers' health is even worse now after aggravating the hamstring on his opposite leg. So the knee that he's hurt, he's now messed with his hamstring on his opposite leg. 10's a ton of points. They're going to get LaShawn McCoy back. I know that doesn't mean a whole lot, but that's a different animal than facing Chris Ivory and Marcus Murphy. I have no idea. I wouldn't touch this game as far as DFS or if I'm gambling, especially with what we just saw from the Bills. I think the public, if I'm just doing a projection, would be heavy on the Bills after watching them against Minnesota.
I think people would even consider playing Josh Allen against Green Bay's defense. I mean, I wouldn't.
Anything's up. I wouldn't, but that's not up in the air. I mean, if you're a multi-entry, like max entry 150 lineup guy, you would want some shares of Josh Allen at his low ownership. But I'm staying completely away from this game. I don't even feel comfortable doing analysis. I have such a terrible hold of this game.
Okay.
Yep. Got to be honest. I'm not faking this, man. Like, screw that. If I can't get a read on a game, I'm not going to play it.
Yeah. Detroit at Dallas. Dallas is a 3-point favorite at home. Over under set at 43.5. Oh, man. I've showed no faith in Dallas this year until last week, and then they made me pay because Seattle took care of them.
Yep.
And it was about the run game, really, with Seattle. It was Chris Carson. Unfortunately, not Rashad Penny. But so I'm going to take Detroit.
Okay.
And I don't know if they'll win outright, but I think it's going to be real close. I'm just going to take Detroit. I think they're going to be able to run the ball. And I'm also going to take the over.
And I think Sean Lee's projected to not play. And
That
everyone knows
huge.
how different that team is with and without Sean Lee.
100%. So I don't know if they can stop Zeke. I don't think they can stop Zeke.
Right.
But I think their offense will have enough that they'll score enough points and overcome the Dallas Cowboys. So I'll take Detroit, and I'll take the over of 43.5 points. I'm taking the over a lot.
Taking the over a lot. I would agree, but I would take the under because Dallas plays at such a slow pace that they limit the other team's possessions. That if a team goes 3 and out 2 or 3 times, it's almost always the under, just because they play so slowly. But no, for the most part, I agree with you on that game. Jets at Jacksonville. Jacksonville, a 7.5-point home favorite, over under 38.5. Give me the Jags. I'm going to lay the wood with the Jags. They are going to be...
Good luck, Darnold.
They're going to be so angry after botching that game in Tennessee. They made the mistake. You know what they did? Well, they made the mistake of injuring Blaine Gabbert in his revenge game and getting Mariota into the game. So I think they will be pissed, and rightfully so, and I think they will take all of that out on the rookie quarterback, who, by the way, what was Darnold's big flaw during the draft process and already through the first couple games of the season?
I don't know.
Yeah, you do. Come on.
I still don't know what you're saying.
He turns the ball over. He throws across his body. He makes poor decisions, and Jacksonville will crush him for that.
They're not going to push the ball downfield enough for him to make bad decisions.
I don't know. A guy who makes bad decisions whenever he can. Okay. In my opinion, at least. It's not so much the play design.
They're going to roll the Jets.
Yes, and I've got a sneaky play in this game. It won't sound sneaky, but it's going to be an under-owned play in this game that could catapult you to the top of your GPPs.
Okay.
I'm excited to get there. But before we get there, we got to get through the slate. So your next game, Will.
Tampa Bay at Chicago. Chicago's a 3-point favorite
at
home. Over-under set at 46.5 points. I'm buying Chicago. I like them at home, and I'm going to take the under. I have them shutting down Tampa Bay.
Love it. I hope so. I've got Bears defense in a lot of places.
Yes, me too.
What do you think about when you turn in terms of shutting down? What do you think the Bucs do offensively in this game?
I think Fitzy's going to turn the ball over.
Okay.
And Chicago actually hasn't been fantastic at creating turnovers. They've been a really good defense at.
They've been sacking like crazy.
Yes, but Khalil Mack will get in there and force Fitzpatrick. Listen, I know Fitzpatrick's been playing really well. It's still Ryan Fitzpatrick,
and he still played well in the game on Monday night. Well enough to put. He didn't cost his team the game. Let's put it that way. No. He had him right there at the end. Do you think he does 275, 2 and 2? 275, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks?
I think 1. I think he's going to struggle to get 2 touchdowns.
Okay.
But 275, 1 touchdown, 2 picks sounds right to me.
Okay.
Maybe 2, but I don't know. I just don't see Chicago giving that up.
The Bears defense has been swarming, and then they have tape to look at as far as figuring out how to apply pressure to this team. Pittsburgh just said, F it. We're going to bring everyone. If you beat us, you'll beat us. Yeah. But we'll take our chances. I agree for the most part. I don't have anyone in that game. I would like to take someone on the Chicago side, but I don't like Jordan Howard enough this week to push my chips in on him. Moving to my next game, Philadelphia at Tennessee. Philly, a 4-point road favorite, over under 41. I'm not so sure. Tennessee proved that they've got a pretty salty defense, and
Tennessee's the hardest team to pick against right now to me.
It's so hard to get a read on who they actually are.
I have no clue who they are.
I don't know who's going to play at quarterback. I don't know I don't know if it's better if Mariota or Gabbert plays. I just don't know.
Maybe
because
they should both play.
No,
It's college.
Mike Vrabel is not Nick Saban. Rashard Matthews, by the way, do you think he's playable well?
No.
Why is that?
Because he asked to be released. Not even a trade.
Not even a trade. He says, just get me out of the NFL if it means getting me out of Tennessee. Yes, not a great situation, but I do like Tennessee to cover, and I like the under. Mariota showed against even one of the elite defenses he won't make mistakes, and that defense, while they're going to face a superior offense in Philadelphia, they've still got good personnel, and I think they can keep the game close. I like nobody in this game.
Good.
I only like a handful of games for players. That's the trend this whole season. Yeah. I pick 3 or 4 games, and I just load up.
Yeah. Seattle at Arizona. Seattle is a 3-point favorite on the road, over-under set at 38.5 points. I think Josh Rosen's going to be a little bit overwhelmed. And not that Seattle's got a great defense, but they played okay last week against Dallas. I don't think he's going to be able to do enough on a really bad football team. I hope he plays well because I like Josh Rosen, but I'll take Seattle. I think they'll be fine with those 3 points on the road. I'm also going to, 38.5 points isn't very many points.
Not at all.
I'll take the over.
Okay.
I think Seattle showed that they could actually move the ball last week. Hopefully they'll continue to take another step forward for their sake. It's not like Arizona is anything special defensively, so right. Maybe they can put up some points. So I'll take the over because it's just so small of a point total.
So I think this is Arizona. This is a spot to take Arizona all the way because we saw, speaking of Thursday night, we saw what happened to the Browns when Mayfield went in. Now, yeah. Rosen is not the personality or really the...
No, but the team gets energized.
The team just has freaking hope, man.
For sure.
Sam Bradford, as much as we love him from being from St. Louis and fingers always crossed that he does well and always happy when he performs well, that team knows they're super limited when he's at the helm.
Oh, I agree.
And Rosen, I don't think Wilkes and company got trashed enough for throwing him in on the last series of the game when he had taken 0 reps. Had no time to warm up. If you're going to do that, just make the call at halftime or make the call between the third and the fourth quarter. That just made no sense. You did not set him up to succeed at all. And on that third down, they took out David Johnson.
Yeah.
Chase Edmonds got the carry on 3rd and short. Just a completely awful situation. But I think Rosen's going to energize his team, and they're going to come out and play well, and I think they will cover that.
If he would have came out at the end of that game last week and just not even led them to a victory, but
move the ball,
didn't throw a pick, if he wouldn't have thrown a pick,
yeah,
I think I would have taken Arizona.
Okay.
But, not saying they won't be energized because I think they will, but that was the time for them to get energized when he won the game.
And then they got immediately let down.
And then they lost. So
no, it's a fair point. It's hard to really handicap these games and include the psychology of players in it and have it be, I don't know what the proper term, statistically relevant or something like that. It's really hard to incorporate that, but it's something you have to do because they're all human beings. Yeah. We just saw it with Vikings and Buffalo Bills. They clearly were looking at this. It's funny. It's easy for me to say now after that game. They clearly were looking ahead. Yeah, of course. They got wasted by the Bills. And player psychology has a lot to do with it. That's why I'm so high on Arizona. Plus, Arizona, I don't think they're as bad as people make them out to be. I think Rosen will inject some life into that team. But we spent enough time talking about a game that neither of us have literally any interest in rostering guys from. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to move on because I think we like this game a lot. Cleveland at Oakland.
Love it.
Oakland -3. And I'm okay with that.
Sure.
Vegas smart. They know what they're doing. They know people are going to see the Baker hype and go all in on Cleveland. That line's going to move. And then the sharp people are like, no, give me Oakland, give me Gruden and Carr. But over under 44.5. Personally, I like the under. And I like the Browns to cover. And I know I'm gonna leave a lot of my player analysis out because there's a player in this game that you've been touting for a while, and you're going to talk about him, and I love him. I think he's the best play in this game. Not Mayfield, not a Mayfield receiver stack or anything like that. Because the Browns, while they have a better quarterback, they're not going to change their identity. They will not start throwing it 45 times a game. They just won't. I don't know if you want to add anything.
The one thing, I was going to touch on it later, but I'll touch on it now because it's not really relevant to – I'll just touch on it now. The one thing I am slightly concerned about is that Hugh Jackson tries to get too cute with Baker Mayfield and maybe tries to get like a Duke Johnson involved in the gameplay because he's a little bit more versatile than some of the other players that are in the game.
Yeah.
And it just like tries to do a little bit too much with Baker because he's a different type of player instead of just letting him run the offense and letting him do what he does. Mm-hmm. Baker's good because he can do things on his own and create on his own. He doesn't need stuff to be created for him.
Right.
So that's the only thing I'm concerned with in this game from Cleveland's offensive standpoint. That Hugh Jackson is sadly the biggest problem Cleveland has. Yes. I think this team is legitimately 9-7 if Todd Haley or Greg Williams is the head coach. In that division, yeah.
Probably. Yes, Hugh Jackson is a serious problem when he's your head coach. That he costs you points for sure when people made the line. If it's not Hugh Jackson, it's probably Oakland, just like it is at Indy. Oakland -1.5. Moving on to, I believe, our final game of the slate because we have the...
I've got one more.
You have one more?
Yeah.
My bad. Oh, no, it is your turn. Yeah, go for it. One last game.
San Francisco at the Chargers. Chargers are a 10.5-point favorite at home. That's a lot of points. Over-under set at 46.5 points. I'll still take the Chargers. C.J. Beathard at quarterback for San Francisco. I have zero faith that they will be able to do anything offensively. Seriously, zero faith that they can do anything. And I think the Chargers will score. San Francisco's got an OKD, but it's at home for the Chargers. They've shown the ability to move the ball against everybody. Yep. They're still a really good offense with a lot of weapons. So I'm going to go ahead and take even though I don't think San Francisco scores, I'm still going to take the over at 46.5.
Jesus.
I think the Chargers will score 35 points, and I can see San Francisco scratching out 10.
Okay.
So then you're right there.
And I think I totally disagree. I love the Niners in this spot because 10.5 points is a lot of points. And the Chargers, unlike really every team in the NFL, they don't have a home field advantage. They truly don't. And this is a San Francisco team that might rally for a week while Jimmy Garoppolo is out. I just think Shanahan is going to adjust. He'll pound Morrison Breida. We saw that the people can run on the Chargers. I like San Francisco to cover that 10.5.
Okay.
I mean, if it was 9, give me the Chargers. But 10.5. 10.5 is a lot of points. Give me the Niners. Give me the Niners for sure. Final game of the slate for us to break down. I'm sure many of you know this. We got bye weeks now for the rest of the season. This week it's Washington, Carolina. Next week I believe it's Tampa Bay and Chicago. The following week, I know it's Detroit and New Orleans, so there's a lot of stuff coming up, a lot of key players you will have to adjust for. The last game of the main slate will be either the first or second highest owned game on both sites. New Orleans at the Giants. New Orleans a -3.5, road favorite, over under 50.5. Man, I have a really good read on this game as far as the players. The players are easy to pick from this game. But as far as if I'm ahead to bet money, I mean, I will bet the over, and I'll bet the Giants to cover. I mean, in every game, New Orleans hasn't won, by more than a touchdown. I know we can count the game in overtime where they scored the touchdown and that was it. But, I mean, come on. Atlanta was scoring step for step with them. Had they gotten a chance, they would have gotten down the field, and if it's in a normal game situation, they're at least getting the field goal. I don't think New Orleans is covering at all. I'd love play. This is going to be a great game for daily and seasonal fantasy all the way around. All the way around.
I love this game. I got a lot of faith in Eli right now. A lot of faith.
We're going to talk. We are going to talk about Eli a lot, and it's really that we saw him against the Texans prove that hey, if he's not getting killed, if he's not really being rushed, he can still get the ball down the field. He can deliver it to Odell and Sterling, and apparently no Evan Ingram, so that's only going to help these guys. I'm And I've got a great stat as far as opposing quarterbacks against the Saints for you. But Will, is there anything else you want to add to that game?
You covered it. You got it.
Sweet. Let's do this before we get to the best part of the podcast, our breakdown of players at each position to build your lineup around. We got to go back to our top 5. Our 5 least favorite people at the gym. Will, what's your number 4 and number 3?
This is an obvious one, but people who sweat on the machines and don't wipe them off.
Ooh,
just
gross.
like at the very least, use a towel and just get it off of there.
Use the sleeve of your shirt. Do something.
Do something. Don't just drip all over it and just leave it. I mean, that's a pretty obvious one. Nobody likes that. I get it. Okay, so I'll move on to number 3. People that use more than 3 machines or 3 or more machines.
Oh, you don't like the
time.
circuits? The circuit people?
Okay, I get it. You're using dumbbells and you're using like a cable machine. You're supersetting.
Yes.
I get it. I totally get it. That's fine. When you're using a cable machine, dumbbells, a squat rack, and a treadmill.
And how about they're not all in the same area? So like he's got a towel on one machine, a water bottle on the next one, to let people know not to use it. It's way too much, dude.
It's way too. You can't do that at a public place.
No,
you just can't.
You can't do that if you were at SLU and if an athlete's doing that. Someone would be like, dude, what is your problem?
Yes.
You can't do this.
It drives me crazy.
No way. Yeah, that's an awful guy. My number 4 is it's another straightforward one. Dumbbell guy. The guy who's not only using multiple sets of dumbbells, but refuses to put any of them away or rack them between sets. Dude, there's a very limited amount of space in the gym, especially to get in and out of the dumbbell rack to retrieve and like safely rack the weights. What is your problem? I am not going to steal your weights if you put them back on. I'm a human being with 2 working eyes. I know you're using them. And if I want to use them, and I saw you use them, I will ask, hey, man, you going back to this? Because that's what you do at the gym. You communicate and talk. I'm not there to socialize, but if I want to use something I think you're using it, I will ask you. But damn, dude, clean up your area. Good Lord, this guy, dumbbell guy.
Fired up
right now. Number 3, and I have some self-awareness, so I am actually this guy. I am number 3. I am what I hate. Weird warm-up guy. That is me. Anybody who knows me know I've done the same athletic, dynamic warm-up before every workout, essentially for the past 8 years, since I was taught it in high school and carried it through college. Unlike a lot of people I know my age, I don't have back problems. I don't have conditioning problems. My knees don't hurt. Nothing hurts. I feel great, and it's because of this warm-up. But it does require me to do some odd things on the track. But I'm very aware. And I will remove myself from the track, wait till I have an opening to do the exercise where I don't impede on someone else, and I will do it. But the guy who's doing it and acting like it's our problem that he's up there going the wrong way on the track doing this warm-up, get over yourself, dude. Like, you're the odd man out. You need to adjust to everyone else. You need to show some freaking courtesy. I at least do my weird warm-up with some self-awareness. 100% I do that.
I'm the guy that rolls into the gym and
you don't even. Are you the guy who like doesn't even have the shoes tied? Like puts the shoes on, but they're not tied or anything like that.
Like when am I really doing lower body?
That's true.
I mean, and if I am, I'm gonna deadlift and I'll just take off my shoes.
Yeah, that's true too.
So like I never roll or I never do it. Like I'll just hop right on the trap
roll.
bar and just go to work. Probably why I never get any stronger.
Probably why you don't get stronger, and probably why they want to keep you out of the weight room when the baseball team is lifting. Like, well, just go do some recruiting, go do some emails.
We don't need you to show these guys.
Don't you infect them with your lack of technique and work ethic? Will, how dare you? Not these kids. Not the ones the Cardinals are looking at. Come on. Yeah, it's okay. But let's move on from our heated top 5. Let's get into our player breakdown. We go through every position. We talk about guys at different price points to build your lineup around. Will, start us off with the quarterbacks. Important position to get right.
Yeah, this is an easy one for me. Paying up for Breeze, 8,700 against the Giants. He will pick them apart, obviously. It doesn't really matter at this point what Breeze's matchup is. He's usually a good play because he's so consistent.
Right. Especially when it looks like peak Mike Vick,
yes.
Spin moves and getting multiple rushing touchdowns in a game.
I'm pretty sure I didn't check on this, but the Giants are either last or tied for second to last in sacks this year. I think they only have 2 sacks.
I bet the Saints are last with
no,
one.
The Saints actually have 6.
Oh, they do?
They do. I do know that.
Okay,
but that's close to the bottom.
That's
too,
very
6.
bad.
But the Giants, can't get a pass rush on anybody. They won't.
Khalil Mack has as many sacks as the Saints D.
So Breeze at 8,700, great play. You want to add on that? You want to just?
I don't. I think in cash this is the way to go because, I got to apologize for this. In my live update article that I write every Sunday at the Game House, I update it every 15 minutes with injuries, and I post screenshots of my lineups exactly. I had Bortles on one of my cash lineups, one of my 50-50s, and I said in the article, once Fournette was ruled out, I say, it is a guarantee he will go 2.5x, which is roughly 16.75 points. He scored 8. So I was so wrong about that. Now, remember I said I only had Calvin Ridley on one of my 2 cash lineups? He was on the lineup with Bortles. So I lucked out. That lineup cashed, thank God.
Saved you.
Absolutely saved me. And I was looking at ownership. I was looking through these lineups. Like, I'm seeing ownership on Ridley in these 50-50s. 3%, 4%, 8%. I'm like, oh my God, I lucked out so hard. But it made me realize, don't get cute with the quarterback. Because if there's a position that's likely to go more than 2x in a cash game, it's the quarterback. And if I'm doing that, give me Breeze, man. I'm going to do everything I can to have Breeze on both cash game lineups. There are a couple other quarterbacks we like, though. What do you have as a less expensive guy to target?
I like Luck at 7,300 against Houston. Like you talked about it before, it's his first advantageous matchup. It's a divisional game. And
he gets it at home.
He gets it at home, and I haven't been high on Luck. Everybody knows that from what we've been talking about, but I do like him. I think this is too good of a matchup, and I like the price at 7,300. I think he's going to have a really nice game.
And can I get you? I want your not necessarily your daily opinion on him, but your football opinion on him. I hear people, and I am an Andrew Luck apologist. I'm putting that out there. I hear people saying like, no, he doesn't look very good. Like it's not happening. The arm strength. They're making a big deal about taking him out for the Hail Mary. Can we appreciate the dude has stepped right back into playing quality. And how many teams would kill to have a quarterback like Luck right now?
There's
at that production and that sort of consistency right now.
Probably 24 teams in the NFL that would kill to have Luck.
Right.
And I've been really pleased with how he's progressed and played. I think he's been great, and I haven't been concerned about the arm strength at all.
Yeah, and I know the YPA is not there. Yes. I always have to say this, like, dude, YPA is a good stat, but you also have to look at the surroundings. Everything's in context. When your starting left tackle hasn't played yet, Anthony Costanzo, you don't have the protection to do these play action down the field, double moves to Hilton. It's just not there.
That's the big thing, too. Like, you don't ever have to worry about the run game with Indy. So play action pass is never as effective, and that's when you really get chunk plays. Right. Play action pass. You don't get big plays on just normal drop back passes for the most part. Play action pass is when you suck guys in, go over the top.
And by no means has he been perfect, but I still think we forget about exactly how much time this guy took off, and he stepped right back in and has looked. He's looked above average. That's insane.
Definitely above average.
NFL quarterbacks who it's their full-time job, they're at peak health. They can't even look above average. Marcus Mariota can't look above average, and Andrew Luck has been out for a year and a half. Yeah. So I love that you're showing him some love.
Absolutely.
Now, if I'm pivoting to my cheap guy, and we talked about this, you love him too. If you had the choice, you'd probably play this guy over Luck. Andy Dalton, because
love Dalton.
A lot of times people are like, well, he doesn't really perform in the national spotlight or when the pressure's on or when he's supposed to perform, and that's been fair. But he's looked really good to start the season. He already's performed in plus matchups against the Colts. He performed in a tough one against the Panthers on the road. I know he had multiple interceptions, but he wasn't unusable. He didn't crush you if you played him in daily against the Panthers. I love the weapons around him. I still think Gio's fantastic. He's not mixing, but he's still really good out of the backfield. Against Atlanta, who is, get this, is now without Keanu Neal, Deion Jones, and Ricardo Allen. Both their starting safeties are done for this game. I think Allen is only out for a limited amount of time, but the other two are out indefinitely. And the best thing, what I love about him is he's stackable. I have in my notes, stackable AF. If you want to get creative, so many things you can do. Dalton Gio, Dalton Green, Dalton Boyd, which is going to be super popular. Just he's a great play because of all the different things you can do off of him.
I love it. You know what I was just thinking about? How closely Cincinnati's obviously their offense isn't quite as good, but how closely these two teams mirror each other. With Dalton and Ryan, I think they're really similar skill sets, really similar quarterbacks. Julio and AJ Green, really similar.
Yes.
Ridley and Boyd,
Yep.
kind of similar players. And then you got the two backs on both
Tevin
teams.
Coleman, Gio Bernard.
Tevin Coleman, Gio Bernard, and then your injured guys, Freeman, Mixon. I mean, it's like
mirror images of each other across conference.
They really are. Not that really matters, but
right.
I do love
Dalton.
I love me some Dalton.
Dalton at 74 is going to be popular
sure.
for good reason. You got a cheap guy. I think are we both on the same cheap guy?
Going back to the well with Ryan Tannehill recently.
It's worked.
He's been good, and he's facing a bad defense in New England. He's only 6,800, always provides that rushing upside. So cheap.
It's very simple, but like we said last week, don't ask us who you're stacking him with. It's pretty much impossible to identify which Miami receiver is going off. If I had to be gun to my head, I'll stack him with Kenny Stills.
Sure.
Because he's the best receiver.
Yeah.
And Devontae Parker is just let go of Devontae Parker already.
And if I wouldn't even go Devontae Parker after Stills, I'd probably go Jakeem Grant if I
or Amendola or like something.
Just something.
Maybe even Kenyon Drake. Run a Tannehill Drake stack. But then again, who knows? I kind of have a cop-out as my tier 3 because he's not cheap. But Eli Manning has to get talked about.
Love it.
It's a great way to get exposure to the Saints-Giants game without paying up for Breeze. Well, look at this for a sec. So the best thing is he showed signs of life against the Texans. And had he been garbage against the Texans, he wouldn't have made the write-up, regardless of how good opposing quarterbacks have been against the Saints. And here's how good they've been, Will. Passer rating about opposing quarterbacks against the Saints this season, 141.7.
That's awesome.
That's what the Chiefs are giving up, 143 to opposing quarterbacks. That's where Garoppolo, Hammer Garoppolo. He is this week's Garoppolo. The matchup is there. He's got better weapons than Garoppolo does, and they've got a capable defense and a capable offensive line. Nothing special, but Eli has to be talked about, especially with just like Dalton, all the options you could do. Eli Barkley, Eli Beckham, Eli Shepard, Eli Barkley Shepard, run it back with Michael Thomas, Kamara, and just pay down everywhere else. I wouldn't do that in cash, but he presents so many options and has a lot of lineup flexibility.
The Saints played one good year of defense, and they're right back to where they started. It's
which
kind
is
of
so
a shame.
sad. So sad.
Yeah.
So sad. And then, by the way, the matchup to look at we will get later. There is an unbelievable matchup. Individual matchup for one of the receivers. And I'm going back to this. I'm going to provide GPP plays if you're trying to, get creative in tournaments. I think the optimal pivot is Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Because
I'm with you.
2 back-to-back disappointments, one of which was a national game, a standalone Sunday night game. Everyone loves to talk shit on the Patriots, and I get it. I love it when they don't do well, but they always end up where they need to be. And he's $100 less than Breeze. So you're thinking if you're like, screw it, just give me Breeze. Or $100 cheaper, Aaron Rodgers. I think he's in a perfect spot, especially if you want to start with a Brady-Gronk pairing. I think he's an optimal GPP quarterback in this week's main slate.
I love it.
You always love Brady.
Nobody's going to play Brady this week.
Yeah. I hope the guy I hope someone who plays Brady wins a bunch of money.
Yeah.
Not in my turn. Not in my games, though. Not in my games. Mostly to running back. Will, who do you like at running back this week?
I love Saquon against New Orleans, like we were just talking
also,
about.
Also, Alvin Kamara aside.
Yeah, Alvin Kamara aside, obviously, at this point. But Saquon, like you were just talking about against that defense, even if it becomes a little bit of a shootout, they've now shown the ability to go to him in the passing game a couple weeks in a row. I think he's a really safe play. I think 8,000 is a really good price for him. Honestly, I think it's going to be a really big week for Saquon.
He's really established a floor, man. And I've been so impressed. And I really shouldn't come as a huge surprise, but making people miss when he gets the ball, just on run plays, making people miss in the backfield, knowing when and when not to bounce it out. The guy, and people are probably not going to agree with this, if you're looking at just the prospect, Saquon Barkley is a better player than Todd Gurley.
He's way better. His vision is 100 times better.
We're talking about not 100 times better, but I think where they're really, really different is Barkley's lateral movement is so much. what's the right word? He's quicker twitch.
Yeah.
Gurley's smooth. Gurley is lean and upright. Barkley is short and compact and can move side to side and accelerate so quickly. Gurley is a guy who needs an open field. Now, if he gets the open field, you're not catching him. But Barkley doesn't need that. Barkley can go side to side and then kick it up to 100% and get to the end zone. So, God, if they switched and he was on the Rams, he would be like probably second behind Mahomes for MVP because the guy's so good, so good. It's funny. I go look back how much I was concerned about him in our seasonal episodes and preseason.
Put that to bed. He's a man. He's the man.
He is the man. A guy I'm recommending, David Johnson.
Here we go.
7,600 on FanDuel, 6,600 on DraftKings. Man, getting David Johnson at 7,600 is dangerous because of his workload. The opponent is not very good. This team will be energized with Rosen.
You got to think he's going to be featured with Rosen, right?
If not, he's got to be in the kids' ear every day. Hey, I'm serious. If you feel anything, just dump it to me. Just dump it to me, and I'll make it work because he is really good. 7,600, man. How? I mean, he's not going to be on my cash lineups. But man, if I'm making a tournament lineup, I don't see how Johnson stays off of it because he's so much cheaper than the big high end options that have the rushing high and the receiving highs. Like he's just so much cheaper. And the Seattle defense is overrated. He's produced against them before, and I think he'll do it again.
Okay,
yeah.
Fair enough.
All right, here it is. Here's the big one I didn't want to spoil earlier. Will, talk about our Tier 2 running back, who just stands out to me as the best running back play outside of Kamara.
It's 100% a no-brainer. Carlos Hyde at Oakland. He's $6,800. I think that's a phenomenal price. I would play him probably up to 72, 74.
I think 72 is the hit. It's because there's not much receiving upside. Because at 72, then you're in the Tevin Coleman, Joe Mixon area, and then I would pivot away. But man, 68, we're still right in his wheelhouse.
I mean, it's just a great matchup against Oakland. You got Baker Mayfield under center. They're going to pound the rock. They've done it the past few weeks with Hyde. He's been a very, very consistent player for them offensively.
And he gets the end zone carries, man.
And he gets the end zone carries. They're not giving it to Duke Johnson. They're not giving it to Chubb. They're going to give it to Carlos Hyde. Saw it with the 2 touchdowns last week. He was a great play and season long last week. But
you've been touting him for weeks?
Man, maybe it was watching Hard Knocks, but I just liked what he brought to the table for that offense. I think he really fits kind of their style of play, what they want to do.
Yeah.
And he seems like an energized player. I know things might have gotten a little stale, and he was always injured in San Fran. But, man, I'm excited about him. I love him this week with Baker in Oakland.
Yes.
I think $6,800 is a great price.
And we'll get to a stack that, when I say stack, not many people will consider this. But I have a stack that's on every lineup right now. It's including Carlos Hyde. You said enough. I don't need to get there. But I'll jump down to my Tier 3 guy. I think this is going to be, if not the second most popular back on the slate. Gio Bernard at 6,400 right now. He's projected at 27.5% ownership in these large field tournaments. The only guy higher than him right now projected is Kamara at 37.5, and for good reason, because he is everything Gio is, but on steroids.
Yeah.
We talked about this Atlanta matchup. Gio right now is game flow proof without Mixon. We saw him get the goal line carry against Carolina, get in the end zone. He's a good runner when he gets the volume. You can stack him with Dalton if you want to do an Atlanta stack. Matt Ryan, Julio, run it back with Gio at 64, and it's not going to break the bank. And, I mean, Atlanta just gets dominated by pass-catching running backs. Like, even before the James White Super Bowl, that's how you beat them. That's how you move the ball and sustain drives, was taking advantage of running backs against them. Gio's going to smash, but you're number 3.
I've got James White against Miami. He's only $6,100. They are at home against Miami. I mean, James White's been obviously the most consistent player in that backfield. Burkhead's out for the year, like we talked about. Yeah, Sony Michel's getting a lot of carries.
There's been some other news. I'm sorry to interrupt, but there's been other news this week. Rex Burkhead on IR, designation to return. But does that mean that
I don't think that changes James White's role.
White's role, but it does make Michel, who's I think $400 cheaper, more attractive in this format. But there's nothing wrong with White.
I just think White with the receiving upside, like
it's so solidified.
We haven't seen it as much with Michelle. Like I think Michelle could be a factor out of the backfield, a pass catcher out of the backfield too. But they're going to keep rolling with White, especially with the difficulties they've had.
Belichick
getting
loves
Gronk
White.
The football, getting the receivers the football. James White's their most consistent receiver right now.
Maybe a consistent player outside of Brady.
I agree. So I think he's really safe because he's going to get volume in some capacity, whether it's catches out of the backfield or if they hand him out off the ball because the matchup defensively shows that he can run it. But I like James White for 6,100.
Yes. I think White is. It's going to be tough. I will be interested to see the usage between him and Michelle this weekend. That will be something I'll look forward to. But before we move on to wide receivers, I've got my GPP play at running back. Leonard Fournette, $7,700. Hasn't played in 2 weeks. Gets the New York Jets. This whole team is going to come out angry, and I think Leonard Fournette leads the charge on offense for them. He's going to be under-owned. He's underpriced at $77. His pass-catching upside, we think, will be limited. Only we think, because he was getting work in the pass game against the Giants before he went out with an injury. I actually think he got hurt on a play in which he caught a pass and tried to turn upfield. I think that's how he aggravated his hamstring. But he's going to personify this team's attitude when they come out against the Jets. I could see him going 125-2.
Sure.
125-2 from a 7,700 guy. Yes, if GPP, Fournette would be my guy.
Love Fournette.
Fournette would be my guy. Moving on to receivers, just like our rule with running backs. Receivers aside from Michael Thomas. Because the dude is just on pace for an insane... Well, right now he's caught 38 balls on 40 targets.
That's wild.
You couldn't do that on all Madden. They would just drop the ball eventually. The corner would make some BS play. Like, that's unheard of. Unheard of catch rate and target volume. Man. It's insane.
It is insane.
It's insane, but we're not. He's easy to play, and if you want to fit him in, great. We're going to offer some different options. You go first.
I like AJ Green for all the reasons that you were talking about. Andy Dalton, he's got Atlanta, 8,500, great matchup, going toe to toe with Julio. They're going to try to match each other. Yeah, I love Green for 8,500.
Very self-explanatory, and I think he'll go under-owned because of the questionable tag, because of Boyd's performance, because of Gio against Atlanta in the pass catching. So he presents himself as a nice tournament play, but still has great cash game stability. My number one guy is actually going to be playing opposite Michael Thomas, Odell Beckham. 8,600. He's not underpriced, sadly. We couldn't get him at like an $8,300 value or something like that. He averages 11 targets a game. Listen to this, Will. The Saints as a team are allowing, on average, 70 points in a PPR to an opposing team's wide receiver group. 70 PPR points.
Outrageous.
There's going to be no Evan Ingram. Red Ellison is not going to be a factor. He's going to get Marshawn Lattimore, but Odell Beckham is part of this rare group of guys where I don't want to say he's cornerback proof, but he's good enough to consistently beat a good corner. And Eli don't care. Eli's going to give him the ball. So he's one of the few guys that can take the 7-yard slant to the house.
Yes.
And, right now, opposing teams are averaging over 10 yards. Opposing teams' quarterbacks are averaging over 10 yards per attempt against the Saints. He's going to connect on a deep pass. You can almost guarantee it. If I'm not playing Thomas at my top wide receiver, it's Odell Beckham.
I love Odell Beckham.
He still hasn't scored a touchdown yet, so
he'll get in there.
It's got to happen soon. You're number 2, Will.
Jarvis Landry at Oakland for 7,000. Oakland's defense, and you mentioned it to me before, Oakland's defense, especially their passing, hasn't been as bad as you'd really expect, as we expected them to be. But still, Landry's volume is going to be there. He's going to get 10 targets if Baker throws the ball more than 20 times. It's going to be Landry.
It only helps his value.
And he's that safety net already for Baker, and you could see it in that week one or that last week's performance when Baker went into the game. So for 7,000 against Oakland, I do like Jarvis Landry. The dude just makes catches. Makes plays.
He makes catches. He gets targets. And like we said, he has that skill where he convinces the quarterback he's the best player to throw the ball to.
He does.
They need a stat on FanDuel. There needs to be some advanced analytics. Salesmanship. He's got it. Michael Crabtree have it. Some of these guys just have a personality where they demand the ball.
It's still crazy to me that Jarvis Landry can finish top 3 in the league in receptions every single season, and he's still only 7,000.
Nobody cares.
It's like no one ever cares. He's really good.
He is a good wide receiver. I mean, played on the same team as Odell Beckham. I know Odell went in the first round. I believe Landry went in the first round as well, maybe early, late, mid-second, but he's a really good NFL wide receiver. Most catches for the first, I think, 4 seasons in a career in NFL history.
I mean, it's wild.
Until Michael Thomas breaks that record this year. My number 2, guys, I'm going back to the well against the Giants. And, folks, this is the matchup. This, in my opinion, is the free square. Sterling Shepard, $6,200, projected to be about 20% owned in these large field tournaments, so he's going to be popular. I think he's as close to a must-play in cash as you can get at the receiver position. Okay, listen to this, Will. He's going to draw either Ken Crawley, who didn't play last game. The Saints replaced him with P.J. Williams. He's either going to get Crawley or P.J. Williams. Who went off against the Saints last weekend? What receiver?
Who'd they play?
The Falcons.
Oh. Calvin Ridley.
And if you had to guess, Will, who do you think he saw in coverage?
I don't know that answer.
P.J. Williams. P.J. Williams. Him or Ken Crawley, it doesn't matter. That's who he's going to see. He's one of the worst corners in the NFL by any combination of metrics you want to put together. This guy's making value 100%. I don't know if he gets in the end zone. He's getting you 12.4 points on FanDuel. It's a guarantee with the volume and the lack of Evan Ingram in the slot. It's guarantee Sterling Shepard this weekend.
Hey, the last time you guaranteed something, it didn't work out. But I hope, for your sake, that this one does.
And I had good numbers behind the Bortles guarantee too.
Yeah,
I had good numbers, but you know what?
That's why they play. Sometimes it doesn't work out that way.
But I'm not a guy who touts the process. It didn't work, so who cares? Yeah, I don't get credit for that.
Yeah.
But I will say this: I'm not afraid to go back with my process. Say Sterling Shepard is almost a free square. Almost a free square.
I like it.
Your tier 3 wide receiver.
I'm changing who I originally went with.
Okay, because we originally thought.
I originally was going to go Jordy Nelson. I talked about him in season long. The more and more I've been thinking about it, the more and more I don't like it. Because I don't love the matchup against Cleveland. Cleveland's D has been pretty good. But I'm actually going to go with another tough matchup. But I just like the pure volume. He looks like he's on a good page with Sam Darnold. I'm going to go Anunwa for 6,100. It's a horrible matchup with Jacksonville. I get it. But somebody's got it. It's not like Darnold's going to get shut out in the passing game.
They're not going to complete 4 passes.
Exactly. So he's going to see volume. They're going to go to him. He's been the best receiver there. Maybe the best. No, I'm not even going to go that far. But he's been the best receiver there. So I just like it from a pure target standpoint. I think he's going to haul in some balls, 6,100. Not saying I'm going to play him, but that's my tier 3 guy.
Right, and I don't believe they're going to deploy him in they're not going to deploy a corner in shadow coverage on him. He's not that kind of player.
No way.
He'll still see anywhere he goes, he'll get a tough matchup, but it's not as if we're going to have to worry about Bouye shadowing him, which was weird, by the way. Last weekend, Bouye shadowed Corey Davis, not Jalen Ramsey. I don't know if there was a specific reason for that, but I saw that. I'm like, oh.
Is Bouye more physical than Ramsey is? I feel like Ramsey is more physical.
I think Ramsey is more physical. Bouye might be more technically sound and be better equipped side to side. Sure. But they're both great.
I mean, you can't go wrong. Bets. You really can't go wrong with those two guys.
Yeah, but I just thought that was interesting and worth bringing up, especially since you pivoted to Anunwa.
Maybe they were just practicing. Practicing getting a different guy's shadow coverage.
Pretty bold to just try something mid-game in a game where you're not winning.
Maybe they thought they were going to roll him. I'm sure they did.
I'm sure they did.
What happened?
We saw that a lot. My number 3 guy, back to the well, Kenny Galladay, 5,800.
This is easy. That's an easy one.
5,800. I like him. I like Boyd as well. I like him over Boyd because I think I just think Boyd's due for a letdown. I mean, you don't have 2 back-to-back games of 15, 17.5 points plus in seasonal fantasy and not be an every-week commodity. Galladay, double-digit points every game he's played in. Stafford clearly targets him. He's getting end zone looks, and I still think he's way too cheap at 5,800. And he's bigger than Boyd. Like if you just look at him side by side, you're like, oh, give me that guy. Give me Galladay.
You don't even need to look at the numbers. If you watch the Detroit Lions play, he's the guy.
Yeah.
In that receiving court for 5,800, like that's a steal.
Mm-hmm. Especially with, I think, Tate at like 69 or 7,000. Marvin Jones at 65. Go all the way down to Galladay at 58.
Tate does the same thing. They throw him screens, and he gets a few yards here and there. They try to stretch Marvin Jones down the field vertically, and then Kenny Galladay does everything else.
Galladay is like, hey, that's cute. Why don't we move the ball now and throw it to me? All right, got to get to my GPP play, though. We saw last week that to win a big tournament, you needed to have the obscure guy, and it's got to be a good value. There's plenty of value. There's Calvin Ridley, there's Kenny Galladay, there's Sterling Shepard, there's Tyler Boyd, who could go off in a great spot. I'm going to give you a less than 1% owned guy in GPPs. Geronimo Allison at 5,900 on FanDuel. He gets Buffalo at home with Aaron Rodgers. Had a big play against the Redskins. Devontae Adams is going to draw Tre'Davious White, who, unlike Marshawn Lattimore, has not fallen off. He's been really good. Did a great job on Diggs last week. Allison, I think, is the guy if you're trying to win. Put in Allison. He's a great, great value, and he's in a good matchup at home.
Love it.
There we go.
Geronimo.
What a first name. Moving on to tight ends. I think tight ends, for me, it's pretty straightforward. I'm trying to get Gronk wherever possible. I'm finding it hard, though.
It's a good Gronk week.
Unless it's a Dalton lineup or a Manning lineup, it's almost impossible for me to get Gronk in, sadly. So I'm actually going to have essentially all O.J. Howard. We've finally seen enough to where Cameron Braid it's not a 50-50 split anymore. It's 65-35. It's 65-35, 70-30 in favor of Howard. Howard's a physical monster out there, and Fitzpatrick likes him all over the field, not in the red zone or on third down. He goes to them all the time. Howard's my preferred play at tight end.
I like it. I love O.J. Howard. I got one guy, Jared Cook. Cleveland's terrible. He's $5,400 this week. Cleveland's terrible against tight ends. They have been for a few years now. Cook's been really, really good, really consistent.
He's been involved. He should have had a touchdown that got called back.
Really, honestly, been their best receiver.
Right. Most consistent, at least. Like they're working him in as much as they can.
So if Carr continues to just want to complete passes, which his completion percentage is off the charts so far this year,
Cook will be part of it.
Cook will definitely be part of it. So I like him for 5,400 against a bad tight end defense.
Yes, and it's not as if they have a safety that matches it particularly well. I mean, Jabril Peppers made a name for himself at Michigan. I don't know enough about him. I don't know enough about his individual coverage skills. I don't even know if they deploy him in coverage on tight ends when they decide to go man. So, yes, Jared Cook. Jared Cook's a good solid play. I think defense is pretty straightforward as well. Here's the stack I was talking about. When people don't really think of the stack a whole lot, there's a great correlation between stacking a team's starting running back and their defense. So for me, it's Cleveland at 3,500 and Carlos Hyde on all the lineups.
I like it.
So if you're paying up, just pay up to Jacksonville. Just do it.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
But you like a different expensive defense.
I like the Chargers because they're facing Beathard at 4,400. Chargers D has not been good, but I have no faith in Beathard being able to do anything offensively against the Chargers. So I'm going to take them for 4,400.
Nothing wrong with that. Right now they're projected to be the most popular defense. So the way I feel about it is unless I'm so inclined to go a different direction, like last week, it was tough, but I faded Minnesota. I paid down to Chicago because I'm thinking, you know what? Josh Allen showed some signs of life against the Chargers, throwing the ball downfield. I could see a couple big plays that would chip away at the Vikings defense, and the Bears are playing Sam Bradford. Now, the Cardinals scored, but the Bears also accumulated turnovers and sacks and got me back into the plus with them. So I might have to take a look at the Chargers, but I really love the Browns, especially at 3,500.
Yeah,
Good Lord.
It's a great price.
So you picked them up and they worked out for you against the Jets last week?
I did. I picked up the Browns
Happy about that.
season long, and it worked out real well.
Happy about that. Before we get into our final segment, Will, your number 2 least favorite guy at the gym.
People who change your weight on the machine you're using. Like, say you're benching, right? And you got 45s on there, and you walk away to get a drink of water, and you come back and somebody else is taking the 45s off. Like, no, come on, dude. Like, have some feel, understand. Or you're on the cable machine, you're doing lat pull down, you walk away for a second, you come back, and it's on 12 pounds instead of the 140 you were just doing. Like, what? Like, no, it's just a hassle. Just understand what's going on and what people are doing in there. Okay?
Yeah, for me, I always carry. So I carry my duffel bag with me when I work out at the gym. There's people there. I actually work out at My DFS.
It's a great place to work out.
It's a really good place to work out because nobody's ever there.
No.
But when I was in college and working out at the student gym when I was no longer an athlete, I would carry my duffel bag, set it down at places so I could go get a roller or go get a band if I wanted to stretch or do something. And people would still give no shits and undo all my stuff. Yeah. I'm like, hey, I have my stuff here. I'm almost done if you don't mind waiting. And they're usually not, weird about it or anything because they know they did something wrong. Yeah. They just know they did something wrong. That's a very good one. Mine's a little bit similar. Number 2, the guy who just uses the machine wrong.
Or like invents lifts.
Invents lifts. Or like the whatever static curl machine is taken, so he's using the leg one instead.
Gosh, come on.
I've seen some of the most ridiculous stuff ever. I myself have used things wrong a little bit. But if I'm not sure, I will just wait and watch someone else to go. Or I will just look at the stuff on the side of the machine that shows you how to use it. Shows you how to use it. Like, oftentimes, I get stuck adjusting seats or finding those levers. I'm like, oh, God, where is that stuff? You look at the diagram on the side of the machine.
Yeah.
It's very, very simple. Well, let's transition to our final segment. I've gotten a lot of my rants out with this top 5, a lot of the built-up frustration that I've had because this brought up some not-so-great memories at the gym. I work out at about 6 in the morning, so nobody else is there at the MICDS gym. Nobody else is there.
That sounds terrible.
It's not great.
6 a.m.?
It's not great.
I've got no rant, by the way. I mean,
you're a pretty laid back guy, so I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised about that. I mean, I ranted about player safety already in our top 5 on Tuesday. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not going to fake outrage or fake a rant. I don't feel that riled up about anything in particular. So we're just going to roll with it. Will, let's end this thing right. Let's get to our number 1 least favorite guy at the gym. But before that, go ahead and review your top 5.
So number 5 is people who lift in sweatpants. No good reason, just don't like it. Number 4, people that sweat on the machines and don't wipe them off in some capacity. Just get it done, people. Number 3, people that use more than 3 machines at once. I can't stand it. Have some etiquette.
Yes.
Number 2, people that change your weight on the machine you're using. If you walk away or something like that, hate it. And number 1, can't stand it. People who grunt.
Oh.
Just like, I get it. You're lifting heavy weight.
Yeah, I get
Don't make any noise.
I get the breathing, like something like that, but man, it's not that heavy.
No.
It's not that heavy.
You're at a public gym. Like, just
chill out.
Relax. I don't need to hear you grunt when you're curling 25 pounds.
Right. Even if you're doing the slow burn, go down and wait. No, your lift cannot come at the expense of my experience and the experience of everyone else around them. I like that one. That's a good one. My number 5, very straightforward. Number 5, hang clean guy. Not an athlete, not training for anything, just doing hang cleans for no reason, and he should not be doing that. Number 4 is dumbbell guy who's got these dumbbells all over the place, doesn't rack them between sets, just leaves them all over the place. It's a safety hazard, man. And I'm trying to get a workout in, and I don't know which ones I can and can't use. Number 3, weird warm-up guy. This is me, but at least I've got some self-awareness. I know people look at me weird, so I do everything I can to accommodate people when I do my weird warm-up on the track. Number 2 is guys who use the machine wrong. If you don't know, ask. Or if you really don't know, just don't do it. And then my number 1 is it's cell phone. It's the guy always on a cell phone. In between reps, in between sets. Dude, you're clearly not here to get work done. Stop Snapchatting. Stop Instagramming. Stop texting. I know it's not as if you're this titan of commerce and you're trading stocks and you just got to tip and you've got to go increase your position on this particular stock. I mean, come on.
It happens all the time, too, with chicks that are on the treadmill and they've got their headphones in. They, like, get a call and then they're, like, talking on the phone while they're, like, power walking or running. God. Like, why are you talking on the phone? Like, I agree. Just say you'll call them back.
Or how about the people in college who'd be on the treadmill and read?
Oh, my God.
How? How's it even possible?
My eyes are going like this when I'm on the treadmill. Up and down. Sorry, I was using a hand gesture. You can't see me.
Sorry, I'm studying. Okay, yeah. Great study technique there. Jesus.
Gurley does have a touchdown. Sorry, quick update. Receiving touchdown.
Okay. I like it. Is the score 7-0?
7-7.
Oh, I like it. I like that. I like early answer. They came out, show some signs of life. But you know what? We want to watch the game, so we're going to wrap the podcast up. Tune in on Sunday for my live update article where I go through all the latest NFL injuries relevant to fantasy, other news. I cover the weather, and I also give out all my lineups, screenshots, player for player. So there's no complaining if you don't get it right. We'll see you next week.